Back to another great episode of the Bluegrass Soccer Cast, your home for all things soccer right here in our beautiful Commonwealth. Y'all know me, I'm Jimmy, that's Mr. John. And John, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm good, Jimmy. How are you?
I'm good, my friend. It has been one of those like kind of stormy yet cold days, so it's been nice to kind of chill out and not be sweating so much today. But to start, John, I keep getting asked this question, and I want to pose it to you now. Getting asked by people, what got you into soccer? So, for you, John, I want to ask you, what got you into soccer?
It was a multitude of things. It was primarily the 2014 World Cup because I wasn't really into sports at all until middle
Mm,
school, and then I got into it, and like I was, then I was like, I was going, I was going from eighth grade to freshman in high school, and I was like, all these things are like the World Cup's this big, huge deal. It's in Brazil and all this type stuff. And also, I was like, okay, it's a major sporting event. I should pay attention. Got into the U.S., but primarily it was Copa 90. I'm pretty sure
mm,
they did um, they traveled down Mexico and Central America, like featuring clubs, and it wasn't like big clubs. It was like lesser known clubs. Some were big, like the big Colombian club and stuff like that, but not like the biggest clubs of South America are from Brazil and Argentina. Like people don't really know Peru or Ecuador
no.
type
I mean,
stuff.
hell,
They're
people barely recognize some like Argentinian clubs.
yes, in that sense, and they were doing it, and it was just so dope seeing the fan culture and all that type of stuff. And that's just it was the peak of the internet. It was hard to watch games overall still in 2014, but I could still find the stuff about teams and about games and all this type stuff and all this coverage. I was not a person who watched like FIFA guys. I didn't really watch people. I never ever watched the people who just open packs because I don't find that entertaining
Yeah, that's
at
kind of hard
all.
to watch sometimes, right?
I don't get because one, these are famous YouTubers who have a lot of money. So it's not like they're getting this at random. They're literally spending money to get the money or buy the packs, and they're just opening
Yeah.
pack after pack for hours. I'm like, that's not
I just,
cool to me. That's not interesting to me.
well, and
And
then
then
it's
they
weird, right? Like,
overreact.
yeah, like they overreact, and then you get into like when they actually start playing with it, and it's like
Some of them
you've got,
suck.
yeah,
Some
like
of them are
you.
really bad for having like being basically paid to play the game.
Well, I think that goes to all streamers, though, right? Like,
Well, no, some streamers are good. Like Ninja at his peak, Ninja actually was
true,
good at Fortnite. He didn't
true.
suck and stuff.
The
There are some
Doctor
streamers are good.
Disrespect,
Doctor
he has had his
Disrespect was pretty
moments,
good. He wasn't like professional good, but he
right?
was
Well, he
still
is the
good.
two-time back-to-back 1993, 1994 blockbuster video game champion, though. Just got to give him his credit.
Is that national champion or this random blockbuster?
It's a whole part of his mystique. I'll tell you later.
Listen, I know a bit of Doctor Disrespect from TikTok and stuff. I know
Hmm.
famously, like his house got shot at when he was streaming.
Yep.
Like I know that one and
Yeah,
stuff
that
like
was
that.
crazy.
Um, I'm not, I don't. I'm not big on streamers, Twitch people in general. Like I follow some of the people I like on YouTube and other stuff on
Yeah.
Twitch just because I believe that helps the algorithm. I don't like subscribe to them, but I
Mm.
follow them. So I'm not big on the whole like live gaming stuff. But in general, it was because the media and I was able to consume soccer. And even now, which is one of the reasons I'm not a huge MLS fan overall, but one of the reasons I like how the Americas tend to do a different schedule than Europe
Hmm.
because it literally
Give you
allows you
something to
to
watch.
like focus. So start of MLS, some interesting stuff, but that's the winding down of Europe, and you can focus more on Europe. Then it ends, and then when Europe's getting back up, that's when MLS and Argentina and all these teams start winding down. It gets more crazy. So it's literally like flip flops. And it keeps you compelled and all that type of stuff. And then the summer is when the major tournaments are played, and it's when the transfers happen. So it's just there's always something with soccer. And it doesn't feel like um, forced media coverage like I feel like the
Right.
NFL is sometimes. Like the
Yeah, and you
NFL
get forced
is
for
the
like hot
perfect
takes and stuff like
yeah,
that.
the NFL is the perfect thing. They've done their thing perfectly to stretch and make every single month about them somehow. Um, and that's because unlike hockey, baseball, and basketball, soccer can kind of thrive in this market if they play one game a week ish.
Yeah.
Uh, type thing. They can dominate from Thursday through Monday, but it's still your team, Detroit Lions in the sense, play one game a week, and then the talking heads can talk for 6 days about the team,
6
and
days in a row.
they can focus on anything, and that exists for soccer. It's a little different because they like at any one point in time, especially like top European teams, can be playing for 4 cups.
At the
So
same
that's
time, it gets really
yeah,
confusing.
that's the thing. And I think technically speaking, like there's a time when Messi was there at Barcelona, completed like a 6-1 because
Jeez.
they're like the defending Champions League, and then there's
Uh-huh.
like the Super Cup, the Spanish Super
Right.
Cup. So they won like the Club World Cup and the Super Cup on top of the like Copa del Rey, La Liga, Champions League, and the League Cup. It's crazy.
Jeez.
And I'm like, there is a point where I feel that's oversaturation. Like there's talks right now in the Premier League that the League's Cup is kind of losing its mojo.
Mm.
Sorry, the Carabao Cup.
Is that the one that Wrexham just played in?
That they play in the EFL Cup or the Papa John's Cup.
Papa John's Cup. Wow.
The funniest thing is like people make jokes that like Papa, like you've at least heard of Papa John's.
Uh-huh.
There's people in England who swear they've never even seen Carabao, which is apparently like an energy drink. And they're like, I don't know what this thing is. I've never seen it. I've never tasted it. Yet it's the sponsor of like the
This
third biggest
giant tournament.
domestic competition. So yeah,
No, this was the Caribou. Yeah, the Caribou Cup, or
Carabao.
how do you say Carabao?
Carabao.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, and it's got like the weird bull logo. Nah, I don't know.
Yeah. No, but
Anyways,
that's what got me in.
speaking of providing energy and getting things going, John, you actually had a story that you wanted to join kick us off today for off the top.
Yes, for those who haven't seen it, the Sacramento Republic of the USL Championship have signed a 13-year-old. He is 13 in like 5 months. Um,
Jeez,
his name is Davian Kimbrough. Uh,
that's
he
what I would
is,
say.
he is signed to from the actual Sacramento page. The thing to remember with USL and stuff is that these other sites reporting stuff. Sometimes they won't get all the info right. To truly get like the genuine, like straight info, go to the club's releases because they'll do like the most straightforward. They won't analyze it. They just go this. Here's some quotes. It's kind of pretty straightforward stuff. It does not look like he signed to the weird academy contracts because they emphasize that it's a professional contract. So this is not in the case of for Lexington fans. There's our keeper Lukey. He's on a
Right.
academy contract. X of Fuego. He's on a academy contract that still keeps their eligibility for the NCAA sense. I'm not fully sure how that handles it, and we also just got some breaking news that our producer will probably like. Fox has acquired the domestic rights of the Saudi League, broadcasting rights of
Dang it. I was
Saudi
hoping
League.
ESPN would get that. Dang it.
So that's some, but in general, there's those contracts that, because the NCAA is stupid and doesn't want professional athletes, which I don't understand.
Well,
Um,
and that's an interesting thing that's happening in a lot of media right now. Like, are college athletes professional at this point with NIL deals and stuff like that? Now, granted, most of those kind of conversations center around football and basketball, but
by
like,
definition, no, because they are not being paid for their sporting abilities. They are being paid for their likeness. So by
true, true.
law, that's not it. And with that, all that law has also helped, because remember, there was a point in time in like the 70s and 80s, specifically, like athletes couldn't have any job, anything.
Right.
They couldn't, because it's like, well, the NCAA is like, how do we know that you're making $1 more than your like other coworker? Isn't because you're a good employee. It's because you're the backup kicker of the local football team. The type of stuff. That's
Backup
genuinely,
kicker.
like, I don't know if that's true or not, but there's genuinely been cases like that where these people are working for like Burger King and they like get in trouble or whatever because they're trying to live.
Right. I mean, there
And
are several documentaries about stuff like that, and especially the lower tiers that you go in, like American football and basketball at colleges. Like, they could be working, a wing stop, sleeping in their car, but they always going to practice every day and they're going to class.
Berea genuinely almost didn't get into the NCAA. Our AD actively met with like the head board because he had with the college president, because he was like having to tell them, because Berea is a work study school, so the school employs students and they work on campus and we get paid. It's below minimum wage. Technically speaking, I made $33 an hour.
Jesus.
Um, I pocketed at my max. So that was when I was a senior. I pocketed maybe $6.25 an hour.
That's a difference.
That literally, they have freshman orientation. They were talking about the labor program. And they're like, you actually make this, but this is like, here's our actual pay scale. And everyone walked out of it as like, I did not need to know how much I was actually making,
How much you
because
were
that just,
losing, really?
yeah. Well, it goes back to our scholarship and stuff. You don't pay tuition at Berea.
Right.
Um, but it was like he had to tell the NCAA that there was no way that the athletic department could do anything to change how someone makes money just because they're an athlete. Like, he's like, the only way they would make more is if their supervisor genuinely thought they were a good worker and they stayed on for all 4 years, type thing. He's like, I have no say even where they work. A lot of athletes ended up working in their cafeteria because the cafeteria has the highest rate, and that's where freshmen get dumped because no one wants to work in the cafeteria after their freshman year. But
Understandably
he,
so, right?
like, this is a school, very tiny school of 1,600 students, that the NCAA was like, almost no, you're not coming in because you technically pay your athletes. And I think with
Well,
stuff like this 13-year-old and other stuff, we've seen 2 teenagers sign in the NWSL, and we're seeing more and more this teenage path. Um, I'm thinking this could hurt college soccer as a whole in terms of getting top athletes, like the top. Like, if you're a 13-year-old, you're like arguably a top 1% of your age group generation. So that top 5% might not be going to like North Carolina. Like, if you look back at the 90s, early 2000s, especially U.S.
the
women's
Freddie
teams,
Adu
it
era
was
and
like
stuff like that.
nine out of the 11 women probably played at North Carolina or Stanford. It was like the same 3 schools. It might start going away that these people don't play in schools anymore. Like, the U.S. men's national team is a good example of this. You have Tim Ream and Walker Zimmerman who played at colleges, but then you have Christian Pulisic who didn't. You have Dest who didn't. You have all these other granted they're dual nationals, so they're easier to get into the academies of other countries. but
Right.
they are not playing at colleges anymore. They studied, some of them have college degrees, but they don't have like collegiate experience.
Yeah, and I think that brings like a really good conversation, and I want to have that. And I think we'll probably have that either next week or maybe the week after, as we really start to preview, the college soccer season. Um, but what is the best path for each player? Is it to go to college? Is it to stay with your club and advance up to the first team and then transfer to a bigger club? I think it really depends, because I
With
think you
having
got to
this,
look at like Freddie Adu, for example, right? Burst onto the scene with DC United at 14, and then that was about it. Like he
he
kind
was
of sputtered around. He did have some
the
success and he
thing with
made some
Adu.
money.
Adu was good. The problem was he was the first, like,
Right.
oh my gosh, American, and he was like he had a photo shoot at 14 with Pele.
Yeah.
This kid
Yeah.
at 14 is basically being told you have to be
You're
this for
Pele.
America.
Yeah. Hmm.
And like I just think it was too much pressure on him, because specifically
And
because he
that's
stayed in America.
yes, that's the
Pulisic,
point that I want to hit on.
yeah, Pulisic, the whole LeBron James of soccer, uh, he escaped America. He went to Germany, where they went, I don't care about you, and actually that
Right.
affected
You're
him a lot.
average.
He's talked about that and how like it was all of a sudden this slip of like people didn't recognize him, like because remember he's from Hershey, Pennsylvania, which Hershey's not that small of a town, but it's still a small town, smallish town.
I mean, it's about the
And he
size of
went from
Lexington, maybe Bowling Green or something
yeah,
like that. Way smaller than
so
Louisville for sure.
yeah, not a big city, never gonna have like a top tier sports team of any sense. And he went from essentially being a name that everyone knew to being, or at least in the soccer groups, to being, oh, you're on like our reserves for our B team at like 14 or 15 or whatever it was when he first went over. We don't really care about you. I mean, if you're good, then you start playing for us, great. But like, we don't care right now, type thing.
Yeah,
And I
you're
think
just
that's
one of the guys.
very valuable to youth players. Is do not put
Indeed.
all this pressure on them early, because it's going to be real hard to live up to it.
Yeah, and when you get that pressure put on, sometimes you don't perform the best that you can. You don't get the results that you expect. And I think that's exactly what happened to Adu. I mean, he barely was ever on the national team roster, but yet he was supposed to be Pele. Like it was, to me, it was very disheartening. I was sad that he went through what he did, but he made a lot of money. So, but John, with that, we'll go on and transition to the bottom line. And this week, I want to start with the match that actually kicked off about 12 minutes in or so. Lou City and Charleston Battery. This is a huge matchup for Lou City. Both teams enter on a pretty good streak, right? Lou City has won back-to-back games in pretty convincing fashion for the first time this season. They are now only 4 points back of Charleston because of some of this weekend's results. Uh, meanwhile, Charleston, they're doing pretty good as well. They've won. I don't have my note in front of me for how many they had won, but they're on a pretty good streak as well. But they're sitting second. Lou City fourth. If Lou City can get this win tonight, they would pull 1 point back of second place of Charleston with a very winnable game coming on Saturday.
Charleston is coming in on a loss after, at least in the last 5, having a 4-match unbeaten. So they had
That's
lost
what it
their
was.
last game, but they had come in on 4-match unbeaten prior to that. 2 straight wins in a row prior to that loss to Oakland.
Yeah, that was a bit of a weird one, but it was in Oakland, wasn't it?
No,
No, it was at home. I always get
it
that
was at home.
confused.
Because and to casual soccer fans, soccer, the way they wrap it, how they show it, this took me forever to figure out sometimes too. The home team is first, not last.
Yeah,
They
so if they're
don't. They
top and
do.
bottom, it's home on top, road on bottom, or if it's
Yeah,
vertical, it's home team, road team.
yeah. It's the versus. They don't do the whole like at.
Yeah,
We do like it'd be Minnesota Vikings at Detroit Lions, and that's how they do it, or
that'd be a
however
great
you want
game.
to do it. It's gonna we're Lions are gonna be kings of the North soon. So,
There you go. Say it with your
anyways,
chest.
it's it's Lou City versus Charleston Battery type
Yep.
thing. Which the Harry are in some weird uniforms. They're in these like weird.
Yeah, Charleston is in orange tonight, which
I
is
I
quite odd.
I can go on a whole rant about that. I stick to your colors. If you have
Yep.
like if you're an old team and for some reason your away thing was like completely different, I understand. That's fine. But
Yeah.
like I hate Detroit City's away uniforms this year because they don't
What
look
color?
they're like they're white, which is fine, but they're like they use like this neon green. It doesn't look like Detroit City.
What?
It doesn't. They don't
Kind of
look.
like the racing Louisville white ones that's got that like green piping on it,
No, it's
or that
worse. It's so much
mint
worse,
piping.
and
Oh,
it's hard to make out. Like if you're traditionally like that, like Lexington in this case, their away kits are white, traditionally white. So if we
yeah.
always have a white away kit, or maybe even a white alternate kit, if they want to do a different color for away, that's fine. We've kind of set that as like our thing. But if all of a sudden next year our away kit's like Knoxville orange because we want to be weird.
Oof.
Like,
No.
yeah, that's stupid. In my opinion, that's stupid. Charleston, your colors are
Could you
black
imagine
and
if they did
yellow.
purple?
The only way I
If
could see
Lex,
them doing purple is like they do those teams have those warm up shirts that they'll do causes
oh yeah,
for, and so if something
yeah,
like the Railbirds tried to do something when that shooting happened in Louisville,
mm,
so we tried to do something on that, but we didn't. We couldn't coordinate in time since it happened so quickly. Um, but if something like that happened, for like standing with Louisville or being that type of thing, I could see it. But no, they're not just going to be like we're going to have like a what is the term? It's the style of racing kits this year.
oh, the houndstooth.
Hey, we're gonna have like a houndstooth looking kit that's gonna be purple and all this type of stuff. It's like houndstooth is dope, but like you're not purple, you're green.
Right,
Your
that
whole
would look
thing is
weird.
green or black.
Yeah,
Like, do not touch purple. Do not touch orange and blue. Do not. Well, orange and blue works for both Cincinnati and Knoxville. Like, don't touch any team that's
yeah, it's
close
just too
by.
close. But
Black
you
and
know,
white
when
are
you
the
look,
only safe colors any team can do.
well, yeah, but I even think sometimes the black can look kind of weird. Like if your primary colors are like red and blue, and then all of a sudden you have a black kit, like it's like
If
that
you do
seems
it,
out of
if you
the
do it
ordinary.
right, it can look good. Tormenta's black kits
Agreed.
don't look good. And I'm not saying that because I don't
Thank you
like
for picking up what I was saying without
Tormenta
saying it.
because they have it's like a black
Come at us,
tank top,
Tormenta.
but then like the
That's so
shoulders are
weird.
white and it's the back plate is all
Yeah,
white. I'm like, so it looks like the white's
it's
like hugging.
weird.
And so I was like, if it's just the shoulders and the back plate was still black, I think it would be okay. But it's like only the front is
And
black, and it's just ugh.
like as a player, when you pull that out the box, or it's like hanging in your locker and you see it for the first time, like you really gonna be like, "Oh, that's awesome," or you're gonna be like,
There's
"Really?
genuinely
That's
times
it?"
if I was like I've thought of this in my head. If I was like Steven Gerrard or like Cristiano
Yeah,
Ronaldo or Dave or like Wayne Rooney, like I'm your club's face, and I do the photo
right.
shoot and I look at this, I'm gonna be like, no. I would just
No,
because
just no,
I
not
would be,
doing that.
and they're like, what do you mean no? I was like, no. Before you even make this
Just no.
available, just scrap it and do something else. Like I'm not wearing this. This is
Wipe the
stupid.
slate clean.
This is
Nope, not
stupid.
doing it.
Like I don't care how much you're
But
paying me.
yes, no matter how much you're getting paid, you still would have to wear it, I guess. But I mean, if you've got the clout, maybe you make those changes. But back to onto the field though. Oscar Jimenez and Amadou Dia for Louisville have been in really good form. They've really benefited from this new formation that Coach Cruz has instilled for the last couple of matches. as they've been helping to get more service and more quality service in the wide areas of the pitch, which has led to more goals. So it's going to be really interesting tonight to see if that happens. And I'm casually kind of, watching the match down here. And so far, Lou City has looked the better 19 minutes in or so.
Yeah, both have shots on goal, but Lucy has had 3 corners already, and we're 18 minutes in, 19.
And if you look at, keeper Oliver Smalley, what is it? I always butcher his last name.
I think it's Somali.
Somali. There it
goes. I think I keep thinking there's an O.
Simile?
I keep thinking there's an O, but there's not. It's Semele. I think Semele.
So the keeper for Lou City, Simile, he has been on excellent form the last couple of games, or the whole season, really. But he has broken the USL champion rookie record with 11 straight shutouts. And he has really been that stability at the back that Lou City has needed to be successful so far. So, John, as this match is going on, I think this is going to be a Lou City win. I don't think there's going to be too many goals. Both teams seem to score pretty evenly as far as like goal differential and stuff like that. But I'm going to go Lou City 2, Charleston 1.
I'm thinking it's going to be 1-0 Lou City. And like I said on
1-0.
Monday, if Lou City wins this, I think you can officially call them back. Yep. Depending on how they win, if it's an own goal or a very fluky goal type thing, debatable.
When it should have been a draw or something like that, right?
Debatable. Like you get a lucky goal, that's where you can like debate it. But if they get like a surefire, like that's a legit goal type thing, I think you can call them back because this is being a team that's above you. Tulsa and Indy were both below them. They beat them.
We're scrapping for playoff positions. Yeah. Like, it's not like they were out of it either.
Yeah. You still have to beat the people in front of you. It doesn't matter if you're playing, well, you only made the playoffs or you're only in the top 4 because your last 5 are all against non-playoffs or ours is all against. It doesn't matter. You got to beat the competition in front of you. Doesn't matter how the draw is.
Right.
So if they win this, I think it's fair to call them back because that's bouncing back from 3 straight losses with 3 straight wins. If they really beat Charleston, like down, I'm like 2 or more goals,
they go 2-0
for sure they're back. But if they draw, don't start going back to that three straight loss mindset, or even if they lose. Depending on how they lose. If this like all of a sudden the floodgates open and it's like when they played Sacramento,
they lose 3-0 or something like different. They did to El Paso.
They had that stretch like right before like Lexington played them that gave me stupid hope of like, is Lexington gonna win? They've allowed 9 goals and haven't scored in like 2 straight games, and that was a good game, but still, I was like, anyways, we'll see how it
21
turns
minutes in, still 0-0. 22 minutes now, still 0-0. But let's move. Stick with Lou City because this is a double game week for them. They've got this Wednesday night game, and then they play Rio Grande Valley FC Toros on Saturday. And let me not mince my words here. This match against Rio Grande Valley is a must-win for Lou City. I don't care what happens tonight. I don't. I mean, unless they get blown out. But this game on Saturday is a must-win because this is a lesser opponent. Now, yes, Rio Grande Valley isn't as bad as their positioning would let you think, right? They're currently sitting in 11th place in the West, but they have 27 points already. If they were in the East, they would be solidly in 8th place. So this isn't going to be a walkover kind of a situation, but RGV has lost 2 out of the last 3. Yes, they're trying to fight and get some points so that they can move up the playoff rankings. They're only 3 points out of the playoffs right now in the Western Conference. But to me, there's no question Lou City has to win on Saturday. If if we go back and say we do lose this one to Charleston tonight, and we lose on Saturday, burn it all down.
Oh
Like
yeah,
lock it up, burn it down. It's over.
definitely.
But
For those who want to reference, the Toros are 7 points out of fourth, of being tied for
yeah,
fourth with
we're
Orange
so
County.
close.
But they're in 11th. In the East, Loudoun's 11th, and they are for the same jump, which is where Lou City is at, is 15 points, double
Yeah,
the difference between where like Lou City stand in their conference versus where Toros stand. It's like that much difference. The West is clearly the
it's insane.
deeper. Well, you do have
Yeah.
everyone beating up on Vegas. Like Toro is 11th, but
Yeah.
they have a 13-point gap on Vegas,
Yeah,
and then it's like
the lights are out in Vegas for sure.
between them and Sacramento is 17 points, which is still a lot, but
Right.
there's 4 in between that. So between Toro jumping to Sacramento is 17, and between Toro and Vegas, who are right next to each other in the standings, is 13.
Yep. And the last thing that I want to talk about this game is Rio Grande Valley FC Toros, worst name in the USL and the worst logo in the USL. Bring it on, RVG fans. I don't care. Like, your name is discombobulated. Either knock off the Toros part or rechange some of the other name. I don't mind Rio Grande Valley FC. I think that is really cool. That describes the area. It unifies multiple communities into one. But just drop the Toros off. Get a new cleaner logo. Something that doesn't look like it came out of the '90s
It
in
would
American soccer.
it
Like,
would be clean
do better.
if Toros was inside the shield. I don't
Something.
I personally do not like if you do the shield or the crest. I don't like when the words spill out because that just
Yeah.
doesn't look clean to me. And then get rid of the bullhorns. That just doesn't
No,
look.
now see, I'm gonna disagree. I don't mind the shield with the bull horns. That's if they took the Toros off but had the shield with the horns, I think it would look better.
Maybe.
I think we both definitely agree that, like, get the Toros off the logo, put like RGV in the middle of the crest,
Now,
and just
yeah, it's just
rebrand.
I don't like when it comes out of the crest. Now, Detroit Cities does, but that's
Yeah, you
Detroit
can't
Cities
talk too much now.
is an iconic like monument. Like that thing on their badge
Yeah.
is the spirit of Detroit, as it's called. So if it's like a statue or something that represents the city, like Indy has that like racing
Yep.
spirit. I don't know. Is it
Thing.
Nike? I don't.
The thing.
Goddess. I think it's a Greek goddess. I don't know if it's Nike or whatever. It's a statue that's in Indy. So like if that's on there, I'm fine with how it looks because you're using something from your city that's different. But if you're just putting words and like stuff around it, it's gotta be clean type
Yeah.
thing.
So with this one, my prediction: Lou City 3, RGV 0.
Oh yeah,
I think it's a big blowout win.
They should beat them. I'm not saying blowout, but I'm thinking 2-0 at home.
You're thinking 2-0. Okay.
2-0. See, because to me, they're just because soccer is very different. 1-0 is a solid win. 2-0 is like you dominated. It's key where you were the much better team. 3-0 is like, as the Lexington commentator for the Union Omaha says, blowing the doors off. Like 3-0 is like truly destroying. Anything over 3 is not even on the winning team anymore. That's like an embarrassment by the losing team. If you let in more than 3 or 4 goals and you're not keeping up, like you're just shut out 4+ goals, that's an embarrassment.
And not to keep piling on RGV, but I will, because come on, do you have any fans? They're in the champion, right? And we've been doing this draft these last 2 weeks. We did not put them in the Premier. We did not put them in the champion. Let's see if they even make League One. That's a teaser for
I
later in
think
the
they
show when we
will.
do the draft. Okay, well, I know who's drafting them then. But before we get into the draft, let's move on over to Lexington, where Lexington Sporting Club hosts Central Valley Fuego FC this weekend. John, how do you think this one's going to look?
I think it's gonna look good. It's gotta be remembered that Fuego was the team that essentially caused Lex to change. Not necessarily they were the team; they were like the nail in the coffin that caused
Yeah,
Lex
they
to like
definitely were.
completely change their thing. And they're coming home. Granted,
Yep.
this is not like. Remember, people, Fuego's looked really good, or
Yes,
better.
they've
They've looked
won.
better since
They're
they've
two
gotten
one
rid.
and one in their last four.
Yeah, which is the same as Lex. Since
Yep.
they got rid of their head coach. Um,
And that included the win over Lexington, right?
Lexington was the first full week he had. So they had fired him like on Wednesday. They played Madison that Saturday, and they lost. They played well. They lost by like 1 goal. Kind of started a little comeback, and they lost. And then they beat Lexington down a man, all that type of stuff. I don't want to bring that up again. And then they've gone.
We talked enough about that.
They've gone 1-1 since that Lexington match, and Lexington has before their park on one. But I think what Lexington has on their side is they finally got the last monkey, if you will, off their back. And
Yep.
Fuego is currently down to Tormenta right now.
Yeah, and that was another thing I was going to say. This is a double match week for Central Valley. They played on the road for both of these, so there's a lot of travel for them coming into Lexington. This is the second match in a row this side of the Mississippi River for them. I think this has got must win by Lexington Sporting Club written all over it. This is not a team that you should be losing to, as well as this is something that you shouldn't be focused on as far as getting points and stuff like that. I got to grab my charger. Hold on.
Yes,
My thing's about to die.
If Lexington win this too, and it all depends on how other things go, they are going to be 1 point. Now, this is if Knoxville loses to Madison on the same day. They'd be 1 point behind,
which
Knoxville.
Is possible.
Yeah,
highly possible.
Highly possible. Madison is in fourth, but they're 1 point out of second. With North Carolina winning right now. North Carolina's kind of built themselves a cushion. But they're in fourth, 1 point out of second. Like if they get a point, they're in second behind with NoCo. So it could be, but that's them. If Lexington get the must win, they're a point behind and then a goal behind. This is for the barrel brawl. Ugh. I don't fully like that name.
You don't like the BB, the barrel brawl, baby?
I like the barrel brawl, but call it like the battle of the barrel. To me, barrel brawl, that's too much like BR stuff back to back. Too many BR words. It's like a mouthful. Barrel brawl. And maybe I just talk funny. It just doesn't come out of my mouth good.
No, I don't. I think you're good. I think it's a better rivalry name, better than what is the Bluegrass Classico or whatever.
El Bugrassico.
Between Lex, there it is. Yeah, no, I don't like that.
Listen. The Railbird people really like that. That's the only reason I pushed that. I am fully open to different names for that. I personally want to avoid the interstate stuff.
Oh, that's my favorite.
I don't like interstate names because I feel like it's just not creative. Like, what's the road that connects it?
Yeah,
like
but
the Cincy one, the Cincy Columbus one, that is because of an interstate, but it's a sign on the interstate. So if there's a weird sign between Lexington and Louisville, I'm full on calling that. Or if there's something like horse racing related, do something like that.
Yes, the I-64 Derby.
Don't
make it happen.
or the
I think
Bourbon
we did a
Derby.
poll for hey, now we're talking.
The
Now we're
Bourbon Derby
talking. The
works for
BD,
me.
the Bourbon Derby.
Or like,
Uh-oh, we might have a new one.
I don't know what's like the. That's the thing. I also
The
don't know what.
BDC, the
I don't know what's the
yeah. Oh.
biggest bourbon distillery.
Nah, now that would have to be sponsored out then.
Yeah, which I could
Like
also
they'd have to
see.
pay
I
for
could
that.
also see like
Oh yeah.
some what is the one with the little
Woodford Reserve.
what's the one with the little horses?
Blanton's.
Yeah, I could see Blanton's doing that because I could also see like personally to me, I think that'd be a dope trophy if you took all the little tops and like
Yeah,
permanently. That could be a dope trophy. Um, but there should be
that would
like
be
a
really cool.
trophy or something between them. So even if we only play in the Open Cup, yes, it's gonna look stupid. It's like, oh, you're celebrating going on to the fourth round, is it? Third, fourth round of the Open Cup?
Third round, right?
But it's an
But
interstate
it might
thing.
be silly, but I think it would add to like the rivalry, right? Like you're not only playing to advance in the tournament, but you're playing for the trophy.
Yeah, and there's stupider trophies. Like in college football, there's trophies for
Hold
minor
on now.
rivalries. There's trophies as a Michigan fan. When we play Minnesota, you know what we play for? The
Is that
little
Paul Bunyan's
brown
axe?
jug.
Oh no, the little brown jug.
That
Paul Bunyan's
Minnesota,
axe is Wisconsin and Minnesota.
yeah. And then Michigan and Michigan State play for the Paul Bunyan Trophy.
Isn't it Cincinnati and Louisville? Don't they play for the barrel of nails or something, bucket of nails or something like that? Rusted
there's
bucket of
just
nails, something like that.
there's just stupid trophies in college football, which is awesome. I think it's a great thing about college football is they have these really stupid trophies.
Yes.
And you could figure something out. Like just genuinely you could if someone's creative enough and willing to do this, just take a bourbon barrel, take it apart, stain like every other piece of wood like green or purple and like write on it or something.
Then it would look like it was the Joker. I don't know about that. Maybe like black, purple, green, or
there you go. The
gold.
why so serious derby.
The why so serious. Next, you're gonna say, "Want to know how I got these scars?" Derby, like.
Listen, if you want,
anyways, shout out to Heath Ledger
with Joker.
You're missed.
If you look at Lexington's graphics, they do like the pregame graphic of like versus. Look at how the Red Wolves look in that. The Red Wolves wolf looks like the Joker. If you pull it back from like it'd be like June 12th when they posted it, like the way because it has a weird smirk on it, and because like it's just their logos become black and white, it looks so it looks so weird.
That's crazy.
John,
let's wrap up this segment for today. What do you think the score for this Lexington and Central Valley game will be?
I'm thinking 2-0.
2-0 to
Lex, of course. I'm not.
Okay, good. I'm just making sure.
Listen, I will never actively, unless I'm like truly giving up on this team, and I think it's like, like if we were like going up against Messi right now, that's a thing where I might say
5-0.
Like I like this team. I'm not gonna say 5-0. I'm gonna say like 1-0,
6-0,
1-0 type thing. But we would have to be going up against like a juggernaut, like truly like tiers above us for me to truly say like they would lose in terrible fashion. Like I'm an optimist. If you can hate me if you want, I'm not gonna be that sportscaster that just rips into teams. I don't like doing that.
That's my job. Don't get on my territory.
I feel that's stupid. That's one of those things I hate about a guy back in Detroit on Detroit Sports Talk is like that no matter what any Detroit team could do, he would just find a way to like dog on them over something. Like they could go undefeated and he would figure something out. I'm not about that. I'm optimism all the way.
I'm not going to be that gratuitous, but I try to call it like it is, right? Like, and in this match, I do think Lexington wins. I think it should be. I agree with you. 2-0 seems very accurate. Maybe 2-1
I could see
depending
a
on
2-1.
what we talked about a couple of weeks ago with X, if he is playing for them or not, or if he's back at or he's now at college. So I'm
He
not sure how
is
that's
he
going to
is
work out.
playing right now for Fuego.
He is okay, so he'll be coming up, assumedly. Then it would be weird if he wasn't. So yeah, I'm gonna go to. Oh, that kind of changes it. Yeah, I'm gonna change it to 2-1 then, and I think Lexington brings it home for two in a row.
Yeah, I
But
think. Yeah,
with
go.
that kind of out of the way, if you enjoy our content and you want to support the channel, we have a Buy Me Coffee account. Now, what that does not mean that we actually have to buy that you don't have to buy me an actual coffee, but it's a way for you to donate funds to the page here. So we can continue to write articles, we can continue to do the show, and we can do even greater things. John and I and our producer are never going to put a paywall up for any of our content. So any and all contributions are always welcome. But feel free to scan the QR code there, or it'll be in the chat or on the down below in the doobly doo kind of a thing for you to click on if you would like to donate. And we really appreciate it. But John, with that, let's go on and jump over to round 3 of the USL draft. Now, we did get news this week. Was this week or last week that the USL has voted to move their vote till after the season, or maybe even after that. So we know that this isn't exactly what the future may hold for all of us, but we want to keep the series going. I'm enjoying it. Hopefully, you're enjoying it too, John.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it too. Sorry, this weird account. I just opened Twitter and this weird account like dropped this that says this document, this 13-page document that says, "Oh, it's by him." Never mind. This guy has like next to no followers and tagged literally every single USL team. So, but like it's a proposed promotion relegation thing, kind of like what I did. But he's like, in an ideal world, it'd be D1 sanctioning, and it would like he's calculating 320 clubs.
Jesus.
He's calculating 32 per the top 4 leagues for each one.
Nah, that's a bit much. I feel like our
This
number
is
of 20 seems more
well,
realistic.
he started like that's how it would start, would be 20, and I'm like, that's how it should stay. Like, I think the extent is 24 is the closest you could get to playing without playing too many games in the sense of the traditional like home and away draw, without getting too crazy, because that's 46 games in a year.
Yeah, that would be way too many.
I don't like.
Unless you divide it up like East and West or something like
How
that,
would
and
you
you
do
save
Pro
some.
Rel then? Because even now, Pro Rel is questionable with the current league formats. Because, like, I think I stated this in my article. I can't remember off the top of my head. But if USL League One is 12 or 13 teams like it is now for next year, I don't see them doing 3 up, 3 down, or 3 up from that. You're not going to take 3 out of
Maybe 2.
2 at most, if not just
at most. Agreed.
if not just the champion. But then in that case, who's the worst? Like Vegas is clearly the worst, but you could make an argument that the East is weaker. So I don't know who's at the bottom. Hartford is getting more points.
Ooh.
So is Hartford actually worse than Vegas, or do you do the playoff type thing? Like what it does it? Some leagues like the Bundesliga and Serie A do a playoff between relegation and promotion teams. England doesn't. If you're the bottom 3, you're gone. Now, if you're going up, there's a promotional playoff, but there's not like if you're 17th, you can like try to stay up. No,
play your way in.
You're done. You're gone.
Or play your way back to stay up, I should say.
Keep alive, staying alive.
Yeah. Ha 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 ha. Anyways, so you can kind of see our top tier there, the premier category. I'm going to read off the teams there. They're not in the exact same order, but from our perspective, the teams that would be best suited to start in the Premier League of this USL: Sacramento Republic, Richmond Kickers, Charleston Battery, Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Detroit City FC, Tampa Bay Rowdies, San Antonio FC, our boys, Lou City, Las Vegas, which maybe not, Oakland Roots, Phoenix Rising, Indy 11, Birmingham Legion, Hartford Athletic, Union Omaha, the USL champion Milwaukee side, just so they can be the tall boys and be up in the top tier. Miami FC, Orange County SC, North Carolina FC, which will be moving up. We saw that news this week as well. And then Chattanooga FC.
Which
In our champion bracket, we put, and again, not in the exact same order, Memphis 901 FC, Northern Colorado Hailstorm, the future expansion USL New Orleans team. Yep. San Diego Loyal, Loudoun United, FC Tulsa, El Paso Locomotives, Monterey Bay FC, New Mexico United, Charlotte Independent, Forward Madison, Lexington Sporting Club. Let's go. Uh, South Georgia Tormenta, One Knox, Rhode Island FC, the future USL Des Moines, Santa Barbara Sky FC, Spokane Velocity, Greenville Triumph, and then John coming out of the woodworks with the New York Cosmos coming back to life.
they're
But
technically alive.
yeah, I
They're on
mean,
hiatus.
yeah. Bro. Anyways, so John, I got the pick last week first. So you get the first pick this week. Who are you putting at the very first in League One?
Uh, very first, I'm thinking, just because they're still probably the best team left right now, and that's Colorado Switchbacks. I
All
feel
right, a
like
champion side all the way down in League One. Wow.
I just feel like it's because the championship is so big that we kind of overlooked them, and there's just teams we felt that have better pedigree or something else. So we're not saying like the Switchbacks are truly a League One side. We had a bit of homerism with two of our picks, obviously.
We definitely did.
Um, but there's also just other sides that, like, I picked the Cosmos because they are the name recognition. I probably would change my pick of Chattanooga now
After
that
them
we
going down
know.
to MLS next.
Yes, but at the time when it happened, that was before I heard any of that. They were the staple of independent soccer. So
Yep.
like these teams are historic. The majority of our top leagues are in big cities. Our bottom leagues are in slightly smaller. They're pretty good. Colorado Springs is still a big city. That's where the league is meeting
Yep.
right
Where they were
now.
supposed to have their pro rel vote.
They're
Yeah, it
meeting
was supposed to have been
today.
today. Yeah.
They're meeting today, and they're still meeting. They're still having meetings. Over it's a summer thing. A lot of people are thinking this might be where we find out. So because apparently this meetings last year is when we found out about like Knoxville coming up to USL. So we're thinking this is where we're gonna, if we hear any more new franchises, it's gonna be within the coming days because they would be voted in yes or no by the leagues then. But it's not a hate on the Switchbacks. It's just some other teams are performing a little better than them right now. Sometimes you just get overlooked. There are just
Yeah, you
teams
do.
that exist like that. Like now recently, Crystal Palace has gotten more coverage because they're the AFC Richmond equivalent team because they play in the same stadium, same color scheme, and all that type of stuff. But if you want to talk about a team that's kind of overlooked in the Premier League, it's like Crystal Palace, Wolves, that type of thing. There's some in the MLS, like Sporting KC is one I always
Minnesota
forget
United.
about. Real Salt Lake, Minnesota United. It's not that you're bad, but
No, you're just
you're
kind of
not
forgettable.
you're not really good either. So people are like, on
Yep.
you. We don't hate you. We're not scared of you though. We don't think we're gonna roll you. It's weird You're in that weird flux. Like there's teams all over, and it's a sense of like you see it with the NFL and stuff. Some of these people are like, I have never seen that logo in my life, and it's because you're just like, even if you're a part of the biggest sports league in the world, you're just kind of like a meh team in it. You're not laughably horrible like the Lions have been for most of my life,
Aw.
but you're also not like Chiefs or Patriots.
So
So no
you're
one like
equating to Colorado Springs to the
Cincinnati
Detroit
Bengals.
Lions. Oh, the
Cincinnati
Cincinnati
Bengals.
Bengals. I don't know if that's any better, John.
Well, no, majority of my life, the Bengals, or at least since I've been in middle school, the Bengals were like 8-8, 7-8, or 7-9, 9-7. They were like semi
So they're
good,
just
semi
middling.
okay.
They're just mid.
Yeah, they were just middling of under Jackson, and they wouldn't do anything in the playoffs if they made it. So you're not historically bad. I don't view the switchbacks as like Loudon, which that's you. You pick Loudon, not me.
I did pick
But
Loudon just because of the market, like the DC
exactly.
access, blah blah blah.
Exactly. I don't know personally, watching the NOCO attendance and stuff like that. The switchbacks attendance is okay. But personally, I don't know if like this was to get D1 sanctioning, if the Denver metro area, which Colorado Springs and northern Colorado, which is Windsor, Colorado, are part of, if they can support three big teams. We calculate this. Windsor is an hour north of Denver, and Colorado Springs is an hour south. So they're literally all in
Oh
the
yeah, we
same.
did talk about that.
This is like if someone was like dead middle between like Cincy, Louisville, and Lex. It'd be like an hour to each, roughly. Kind of. It's like if you live in any of the Lex, Lou, or Cincy, it's like living towards your other things. Like right now, it's okay to be all three of those fans because they all play in different closed leagues. If you live in Lexington, it's an hour to Louisville, it's an hour to Cincinnati, same thing, vice versa. Now, granted, I don't think anyone's going to be a Cincinnati Lou fan or vice versa because of their USL rivalry, but you can if you wanted to. If you truly were just a casual fan wanting to support all three leagues, it's an hour drive, and that could be the same for someone in Denver in this case. So I don't know. And the Colorado Rapids are a more historic MLS team. They suck right now, but
Yep, straight trash, homie.
they do have an MLS Cup. They're all that type of sense.
They had Tim Howard.
Yeah. So like, this is a long-winded thing to say. You're not in this lower league switchbacks because we like think you're just utterly terrible. We just kind of forgot about you.
Well, and they have a great logo. So from my perspective, I agree. I think that's a really good pick, and they were probably the second or third team I would have picked today. It's very similar to Rio Grande Valley FC Toros. It's that same city nickname FC situation that I just can't jive with. So it's just one of those things that like I want it to be a little more clean. I want it to be a little, I don't know. Do you just go with Colorado Springs and then knock off the Switchbacks part of that, or do you go Switchbacks FC, which is not geographically located? They've got a great logo. I love that color scheme. They're good on TV. They were just playing FC Tulsa last week or this week.
In my opinion, you drop the switchbacks.
Yeah, that would be my preference.
Just historically, that's what you should do. Because that's just, it's all about the city you're in. You don't really, like, this is again European stuff, but I'm not a Euro snob. In a sense, it's just they've set the historic stuff. It's wild. Like Europe's the reason we have Real Salt Lake, which is the dumbest name in all of soccer because Utah is the whitest state. See, if it, in full honesty, if they did like Real Miami,
It would make
I've
more
been
sense.
more okay, but it's
Yeah.
Real Salt Lake. It's
Yep.
literally the whitest area. Like it's not
Yeah.
even like they could. I'm just guessing. And Salt Lake City is a bigger city, so they could actually have a high Hispanic population. All I know about Utah though is Mormons,
By the way,
because that's
that
just where all
showcase,
the
the
Mormons
summer
are.
showcase between Colorado Springs and FC Tulsa, is tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. John, before you jump back in here, it is halftime in Louisville, 0-0 at the half.
All right. So then let's jump back in. You're up, Jimmy.
Yep. So, um, sorry, I literally just got told don't get distracted. And what am I doing? Getting distracted. I want to my first pick for the League One. I want to pull up a team that is currently on hiatus, but I think they're primed to have a really successful run, especially if we start them at this level and then they work their way up to the mid tier, maybe even the top tier. I'm going to go OKC Energy FC. Now, again, weird naming situation, right? But they got a pretty cool logo. They've made some good runs. They've made it all the way to the fourth round of the Open Cup before when they were not on hiatus. They had really good attendance, over 4,000 people per match were there. So, like, they have the support, they've got the logo. We just need to get them back on the
And from
field.
from what I'm understanding, they went on hiatus because their stadium situation fell through.
Yeah,
They're trying to
which is
build their own
rough.
permanent stadium, and it's set to be built by 2026. But overall, it's not like they ran out of money per se. They kind of just ran out of a place that meets league standards to play at.
Yeah.
And just a reminder, people, I don't know what the USL championship attendance rule is. I know off the top of my head, League One requires a 35,000 seat minimum.
For
So
some
that's
reason, I think
why
it's 5,000 minimum, but I could be wrong.
I, um, but in my thing is that, um, that's sorry, our chat's going off. I'm getting a little distracted. Uh, but it's their stadium thing. And this is the thing with, like, I've had so many Lexington fans. Why we can't play at Transy, why we can't play at certain places is because of attendance thing. So the league does not, USL does not just want you playing like how when Lexington played racing women's side, they don't want you just playing on like a random soccer field that people just bring lawn chairs to and has some
Right.
stands. They want a legit stadium that can fit 3,500 people minimum. So that's what they want. They don't care about location per se, but I think that's what's going on with OKC. They're trying to find out the stadium
Yeah,
situation, and
and
it's a viable market.
it is. It's definitely a place that is growing. I mean, they've got a lot of tech coming into the Oklahoma, especially the Oklahoma City area. So I think they are primed to come in and make some noise. John, let's move on to your second pick now.
My second pick is going. I'm going to be promoting a team that has a very good following. They're really strong. Now they're technically a team that people might not know exactly where they're located
Uh
because
oh.
their name doesn't say where they're from per se. But I'm promoting Appalachian FC
Oh, you sucker.
uh,
You sucker.
because they are well supported. They got some really good kits going. They're located in Boone, North Carolina, so that kind of is getting, since we're kind of both West Coast with this one right now, that's getting more of an East Coast thing. And I think in general, the Appalachian area as a whole, these kind of lower things can truly benefit from lower league soccer. Like there's a lot of minor league baseball teams along the
Oh yeah.
Appalachians. So like these lower leagues, I'm not saying like we're existing where they could go all the way up, at least to the in our thing. but that's a whole viable community that is easier to fill a stadium with 5,000 than with 20,000.
Yeah, and that was a team that I would have been excited about since we started talking about this possibly doing this draft. Like that was we had talked about like, oh, do we just take, the current teams and maybe, only one other league or something like that to consider. But this was a team that I was ready to pound the table for and say that they belong. I almost took them last week with my last pick, but I took Santa Barbara instead. Now I'm like, dang. But their run they just had this past year in the Open Cup was phenomenal. They showed that they can draw, they showed that they can compete, and I really think you let them in and they're gonna be a team that nobody is going to want to play. I think they very quickly would jump into the championship level. I don't know if they could get all the way to the premier level. I mean, obviously, when you go on a run, you have 1 or 2 good years. Anything is possible, right? Look at Leicester City, but um,
Well, look at Luton
it
Town. Luton Town
yeah, or
has the
Luton Town,
smallest
yeah,
stadium. It has 10,000. There is technically speaking, Legion Stadium, where the Birmingham Legion play, is technically. I say technically, we don't know the full how many seats they sell, but theoretically, where the Birmingham Legion play could fill in more people than where Luton Town play.
yeah, which is crazy. Yeah, so I really am excited that you took them. Frustrated that I didn't get to say it, but I'm glad they're here. They're well deserving of this. So now I'm going to go a little bit off the board. Um, and I want to go to the city of New York City. And they've had a couple of different options for the USL. So the USL currently doesn't have a USL team there in the city for proper. So we had Queensboro that was supposed to come in, that was had a great run in the UPSL for their second team, making it all the way to the semifinals or the championship game last year. But we thought Queensboro was going to be the team coming into USL, and then they have kind of fallen off. Now we have my pick, USL Brooklyn. This team, from all indications, is happening. They're going to have their own stadium. And I think once they get in, they're going to very quickly go all the way to the premier. I think you have to start them down here because of they're not even out yet, and it's not necessarily in a market that could support that high of a level immediately because they've got so much other stuff. But Brooklyn, a city on the rise. This is a team that will be on the rise. Put them on the board. USL future team Brooklyn.
And that's a very solid pick. Um, I do think Brooklyn has the capability, like New York City truly does. I don't know the population off the top of my head, but they could support top,
Billions.
like they can support teams. Because they don't. The thing with New York, like they don't really have college sport market. There is some with like Seton Hall nearby and stuff like that, but there's not like New York University is not that great in sports.
No.
They have some teams that have appeared. I'm thinking college basketball, but there is that market. They don't have like the thing Lexington is going to be competing with, and Lou City was competing with to start is the colleges. They're going to have to compete with the colleges. Lou City still kind of is, though they've established themselves pretty well, going on 10 years now or whatever it is at this point. But it theoretically it took. They've only been in Lynn family for what, 3 years?
Yeah, they were supposed to open during the pandemic, if I'm not mistaken.
And so the stadium was ready maybe 4 years. That they'd be in 4 years. Um, um, in like 4 years or whatever, but they only been in 3 years because of the pandemic. That means but every year they were playing in a baseball stadium. And
Hmm.
they still established themselves well. So the same with Brooklyn, which in itself, from what I know about New York, they're very much big on where they're like, I'm not from New York City. Well, they'll say it, but no, I'm from Queens, I'm from Manhattan, I'm from Brooklyn, or Manhattan's like I'm from Harlem. Manhattan's more the districts because it's
Yeah.
more of a business borough. But I'm from Staten Island. They're not. It's not like exactly like, oh, I'm just from New York City, and it's a big old market type thing. Brooklyn can thrive type thing. Brooklyn, I think, by itself has more population than some cities with teams on this list.
Yeah, 9 million people in all of New York. So surely they could support a team in Brooklyn. I mean, and the Nets draw pretty good. They've got a beautiful facility. I don't know if you can, build near that,
The
but
Nets are in Brooklyn. The Islanders play in that same place, which is in Brooklyn.
oh yeah, that's right.
Um, Now I'm gonna stop slightly disrespecting some teams. I'm going to bring up Fuego. Uh, just that's our as a West Coast team to give a California thing. I also don't think like yes they're struggling this year, but they have some decent supporters going there. They're like very much establishing themselves with academy and stuff like that. Very in the community, and it's just a West Coast team. Personally, I don't feel like any current top three teams just drop out entirely in my opinion. And I think they're more deserving than some NISA sides. So
True. Yeah, I think that's a good region to put here. And I think there are some other teams from the Central Valley that you could have looked at. But since they're already in the USL, I think it just makes sense to keep them in the league, right? Like there's no reason to kick them out. They're not that terrible. They seem to have some young talent, so they could easily be on the move.
mm-hmm.
Next pick for me, I'm gonna go off the board again. This is what I like to do in this because it makes our producer have to frantically find logos, and it's fun to watch him scramble around. Um, I'm gonna go with USL Northwest Arkansas. What? Are you kidding me? Welcome aboard, Northwest Arkansas. Now, team was just announced a few months ago. This is this is something that is a region that has a lot of money, thanks to Walmart. The University of Arkansas is in this region. Central Arkansas is not far down the road from there. Uh, this is an area of the country that I think is bound and is ready to boom and to have professional sports. And this USL side is not going to disappoint, and they are going to make a big splash when they get there. It also probably helps that I have friends in that area that tell me how awesome it is. So kudos to them.
I think
John, are you still there? Hold on.
yeah, sorry.
Oh,
I was just
you're
looking
good. It just got quiet.
where Fayetteville is. I haven't fully know exactly where they're planning to play. All I've been hearing is Northwest Arkansas. I don't know the exact city they're planning to play in. Um,
It'll be Fayetteville, where the University of Arkansas is.
uh,
Yeah, so Fayetteville up in that northwestern corner, beautiful landscapes and stuff like that. Um, I just think it's ready and primed, ready to launch.
in general, I think these areas are like I've been stating. So minor league baseball has thrived, and minor league baseball is the only like true indicator. I could say hockey, but minor league hockey has really only thrived in northern U.S. Baseball has thrived like
Yeah, because
all
even
over.
Lexington couldn't keep a team around.
See,
The
okay,
Thoroughblades.
here's my issue with the Thoroughblades. They came at a wrong time for hockey because they like got dropped right around the lockout and stuff like that, and
Yep.
it was kind of when hockey as a whole was struggling, in the South. That's when around the time the Thrashers left Atlanta. There was this whole storm of it, and it they also played in Rupp. Like, I fully believe playing in a stadium too big for you hurts
Yeah.
you. It truly does hurt you because it looks very empty and it just looks bad. But they did have, I forget what his name is, but the giant that used to play for the Bruins did play for the Thoroughblades.
No clue, man.
It
I know they exist. I've
I
seen
think
the
it's
logo and
I
the
think it's
jerseys,
a
but that's
Daniel
about it.
Charles. They had a dope logo, but I think it was just like too.
Yeah.
Because the Thoroughblades were here before the Legends and stuff like that.
Yep.
I think it was just a weird
That's
thing.
right. The Legends. Not no counterclocks BS. Get out of here, counterclocks. Get out of here, genomes.
The
It's
funny,
Legends Park,
the
and they're the
genomes are
Lexington
gone.
Legends.
The genomes, I don't even think are still
Thank
around.
God.
But the funniest thing about the counterclocks thing is that the Instagram and Twitter handles are still at Legends or like at Lex Legends. So anytime
Which
you
is
see
just
they
hilarious.
change the logos and all that stuff, but they couldn't like go to Instagram and be like, "Hey, can we please change our like name or handle to something?" And like, I don't, as a Lexington or Central Kentucky transplant, I don't really care all that much about it. I agree that the counterclocks is a stupid name and the logo is kind of
Yep.
stupid. I don't
Yep.
fully get the Legends thing, but like, the name is stupid. But like the Thoroughblades were around before that and stuff like that. It was just like this perfect little storm brewing. People keep comparing us that the Lexington's gonna be like the Thoroughbreds or like look at the Legends. I'm like, you mean the Legends who have been around for now 20 plus years? As much as they don't
Yeah,
draw
like that's a
support, they're
good
still
comparison.
around. They're still around, and it. You can see I got into as the Railbirds on an Instagram post on Lex, and this guy was like a hockey fan, or he was a hockey player because he tried to say, well, soccer draws more than hockey, or more people watch hockey than soccer. I was like, not by viewership numbers anymore. And he was like, well, they can't take a hit like us. I'm like, what does that have to do with views? Like, that has not, like, he
That's a
was just
terrible
getting
argument.
butthurt. Anyways, back to this. Like I said, Northwest Arkansas, they have some good support. The University of Arkansas is one of the consistent, like the entire SEC gets good support. The University of Arkansas gets good support for most of their teams, like all of them. Basketball, like they have very good support. So I feel like there's 5,000 people. That's kind of my number. Is like 5,000 is good. Anything above 5,000 is great for a team in any of these leagues right now. Below that's kind of where you're like shaky or even lower. But 5,000, if you're drawing 5,000 or near 5,000, you're solid. You got a good fan base, and I definitely feel Northwest Arkansas can draw 5,000.
Oh, easy.
My next pick is a bit of it's another promotion in my opinion, but they have very famous support. I'm promoting the Vermont Green FC.
Who?
Vermont Green. They have some nice, if you want to see some nice uniforms, they got some nice uniforms. And if you know of Noah
What
Khan,
league are they in?
they're in USL League 2.
What in the world?
Noah Khan, the very famous like folk country singer, he's a big
Sure.
fan of them. He's been to their games. He's like worn their jersey and stuff like that. So they have that faint like, and he's rising right now. He did a song with Post Malone and all that stuff.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
So they've got financial
or
support.
Post Malone featured on one of his songs. To clarify, but they're a well-supported team. Vermont as a whole, like everyone forgets about the Northeast. The Northeast is the most heavily like populated area of the country, and so they can definitely support. And also, it is like pouring rain in Louisville right now.
Oh yeah, I'm watching it, and Coach Cruz took out like Ownby. He took out Dia. Like I don't know if they were getting a little tired or if it's because of the weather, but
yeah, look at that. Look at how dope that kid is.
Yeah, that's pretty
That's
cool.
like that is like it's just these like flower designs. It's like so dope, and like as a whole, the design doesn't like take it away from like if you're looking far away, it doesn't like make it
Yeah,
look
you
weird.
could still see it.
You could still
Hmm.
it still is like a green jersey from afar. It's like the tiny little detail stuff that doesn't like overpower.
And one of the reasons I got a little animated with that is because I'm mad that I didn't even know that they were this competitive. Because I have a friend who's from Vermont, and I would. This is like straight up my alley of who I would have picked. You know, I have a friend there. Oh yeah, sure, let's give them a team.
They're good.
Now, where in Vermont do they play?
Let me look. I don't know off the top of my head. I just know about them.
Mm-hmm.
They play in Burlington.
Oh yeah, so that's where the University of Vermont is. Probably the biggest city in Vermont, if I had to guess.
Now they will have to upgrade their stadium. Their stadium only
Yep,
fits
I was looking at that.
25,000, but we're not necessarily looking at stadiums per se. We're looking overall. And I just this you give Brooklyn there, you have Vermont, well supported team, good kits. Overall, I think they're good quality to make the jump, and they could make the jump. I think with Brooklyn, the USL League One personally wants to get out of just being this basically SEC yeah,
Yep.
league with four little stragglers who spend a bunch on travel costs and are trying to like go other places. Now, yes, it's gonna be half and half. Well, no, it's not gonna be half and half anymore with
No.
North Carolina leaving. But it's getting better with Santa Barbara and Spokane coming, and with Brooklyn coming, it's spreading out more. But I think as a whole, like add Vermont, maybe I don't know how well North Dakota or the Dakotas are supported, but add
Hold
maybe
on now.
teams up
Don't
there.
don't jump too far ahead of me because you might be seeing them come around here in a minute. Who knows? Uh, for
You,
it's my next pick, right? Yeah.
yep,
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna kick back into the USL. One of their current teams. This team we have dunked on this episode. We have dunked on them on several shows. Chattanooga Red Wolves, welcome into the USL League One. Only because I just want to see the Chattanooga teams face off at the same level. This to me is the exact same thing as like Louisville and Lexington, but like 10 times worse because y'all in the same city.
and
Yes,
their
I don't like their
fans
logo.
hate each
Yes,
other.
their fans hate each other. I don't like the
Uh,
stadium for Red Wolves, but
I,
they're
I
there. I think they stay.
I personally don't like personally know this guy, but one of the big runners of Pride Raiser is from Chattanooga FC supporters, and he has gone on a whole rant on the Pride Raiser Slack about how he hates the Red Wolves. More, he hates the ownership group because they just walked in and went like instead of like because I think something happened where they went to the original owners and they're like let's partner and they couldn't agree, so it was like he just went to the
Well, we're starting
USL,
our
gave
own.
them money. Yeah, exactly. And they same as how like the Loyal did dirty. Like the
Mhm.
USL hands aren't clean either. The USL
No,
with a team there that is very well supported and is a very like historic team. If you want to look at that are still around of American soccer, Chattanooga FC are very much there. And the USL just went, oh, you paid the entry fee. Here's this franchise, same as how the MLS did San Diego. So you can get mad over the Loyal situation, just know the USL ain't clean themselves either.
no. Who you got next, John?
Uh, I'm gonna round out the current USL teams and just throw the Torinos in there. Just because they Toros, sorry, not
I was
Torinos,
like Torino's. I was like, who?
the Valley Toros in there, just because, like we said, there shouldn't be all these like the NISA or USL two sides shouldn't go in because even as we've spoken today with how they're not bad, they're
No.
just I think like the switchbacks, they're kind of forgettable.
Yeah.
Which could come
I don't
back
really
and
have a whole
bite
lot
me
of
in the butt.
comments.
but they're like watch them like just shock Blue City, and there's some weird
Oh
sign
yeah,
that says who's forgettable
5-0.
now. But no, I can just
Oh
imagine like
please,
someone
call
like
us out.
some
Put our
random
logo
person
on
in
your
Texas.
sign.
Some random person in Texas is like, I'm gonna see what like local random freelance journalists are saying about our team from Kentucky area. We're forgettable? Heck no. And like he just
Worst
has the
logo in the
sign
league.
ready. Hey,
Oh yeah,
but
I
if that
said it.
does happen, that
This
means we've
guy.
made it. That
That's my
means
name right there. Tag
we've
me.
made it.
Yep.
And there's no such thing. There's what is it? There's no such thing as bad press
All right,
or
Jerry
something like
Jones,
that.
chill out over there.
Well, no, it's like a common saying is like
Yeah.
all press is good press. Like, yes, there can be bad press, but even like bad press is good because people are then talking about you. Like, as much as I shared an article about this that like ripped apart all the people ripping apart the U.S. women's national team. As much as I hated a bunch of that, that's the most talk about the U.S. women na- national team I've ever seen, even after they won in 2019.
Yep.
So like as much as I hated most of it, it was still talk. People were still talking about it.
Yeah, and yeah. So come on, Rio Grande Valley fans, let us have it. Get in the comments, tell us your thoughts on all of this. But with this next pick, I feel like I've been on a tear in the Midwest. And you know what? There's no reason to not add another one. This team made a phenomenal run in this past year's Open Cup, making it all the way to the third round. They are from the Midwest Premier League, Chicago House. Welcome to the big show. We do not have any teams in the Chicago area. I mean, outside of Forward Madison, but that's pretty significantly far away from the second city in our
They're only
league.
no. Milwaukee's an
And
hour north of Chicago.
yeah, and you could argue maybe that's pretty close, but to me, the argument for that would be a rivalry. Like Milwaukee Brewers and Chicago Cubs is a big rivalry. I think this would be right on par with that. Chicago House went into the old home of the Chicago Fire. I mean, Fire fans, you all know the history of that. What is it, SeatGeek Stadium or whatever at this point. It has been a house of nightmares. That's why they play back in Soldier Field. But Chicago House went in there and played a very good game against them. That didn't go their way, obviously, but
And they
Chicago
shocked
House,
Madison
they did. They
in the Open
shocked
Cup this
Madison.
year. Madison was up like 2-0 or
Yeah, I
3-0
think it was
going
2
into
0 and
like
came
half
back.
or just after half, and Chicago House just came in out of nowhere
Yep.
at Madison, which for those who haven't watched, Madison is a tough place to play. Madison and Richmond both draw really well. The thing is, Madison is like on top of you. Like the stands are
Yep.
very, very close, whereas Richmond they're very far away. So it's like the Red City Army do really good at supporting Richmond, but it's a difference if the fans are like near you versus away from you with that separation of stuff. It's very different. Um, no, I am choosing my next team not because of jerseys, like my co-host has claimed. Um, while they do have great jerseys, I'm promoting a team that deserves promotion and would get essentially what would be automatic promotion. I'm promoting Ballard FC of USL League Two, who are the current. They like just this past weekend won the USL League Two championship. So
Now,
while they
where are
do
they
have
from?
Seattle, I didn't know that.
Mm.
So I had to look up where they were from because I didn't want to spell their name wrong. So I like looked them up. They are from Seattle. Seattle is a very well supported city. The Sounders are very good support. The entire Cascadia is a good soccer culture there. So I fully
Yeah.
feel that they can support a lower league side. in Ballard, and they are well supported. They do get some good fans. And Lou City just went up, scored a
They
goal.
did. Good eye.
Is it Lancaster? I think.
It's a
All I
mob
know
of
is
people. I can't quite tell.
I think it's Lancaster. They're all like, yeah, I'm betting it's Lancaster. They're all high fiving him. Oh,
Wow.
here we go.
Okay. Okay,
Woo!
Google. Google over here. I'm like looking up Ballard FC because I had never heard of them, and all of a sudden, all these
Oh, did it do
fireworks
the
are going
fireworks?
off.
Yeah, I saw
What?
that. That's dope. So
That's really
if you
cool.
look up a team right after they win a championship, they do that. But
They
the
do
fact that
fireworks.
Google is doing that for a fourth division team in America, that's dope.
That's
I
cool.
don't know how easy that is for them to program in to just be like a champion type thing, but that's still cool that they're doing that.
Hmm.
But they're a well supported team, and it's essentially like we're doing in the case of like next year, this would be a thing. Ballard gets the promotion into League One.
All right. Um, I'm going. I'm going to go to Nisa for my next pick, and there are kind of two clubs that I'm really between. Um, one of them.
These kits are nice, and they actually look very
Oh
close
wow!
to uh the U. They have a little detail, but if you look at Manchester United's third kit for this year, very similar scheme. It's like a off white with a red. It's very
That's
similar to
pretty
what
cool.
Manchester United's third kit this year is going to look like.
And it goes really good with the USL 2 logo on the sleeve.
Yes. And that's a thing. I don't know if Blue City's jerseys you can buy like this. I really wish Lexington as a whole would one allow player jerseys and two actually put the league patch on the because we basically get the authentic jersey, but then we
Yeah.
don't have any of the patches and stuff. So as much like that's my one callous. I want to buy a player jersey, or at least give me the op. I will pay $30 to take any of my current jerseys and just like
Put the patch on it.
yeah, or however much it is would be.
So I think kind of looking at the shape of the conference with, where teams are at right now, um, I think we need a little bit more to the south, but maybe that's a bias that I have. And John, we keep referencing like minor league baseball as a kind of launch pad for some of these leagues or some of these teams, right? Have you heard of the Savannah Bananas, John?
Of course, I have because
Okay.
they are essentially, for those who have no idea what we're talking about, they are the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. There's, as I've said in previous episodes, I've grown up a baseball person, so I'm very plugged into that community as well. And for also those who don't know baseball, and there's a bit in soccer, people don't like showboating
No,
or
not at
going
all.
crazy in baseball. And there's a lot of people who think that bananas are hurting baseball when they're like they have wait lists for their thing.
Yeah,
Uh, for those who don't know, Savannah Bananas are actually technically a real team.
they
They
are.
are a college summer league ball team, but I think this year they dropped that because the demand for banana ball was so high. So they used to do it like before the season started. At the end of the season, they would do banana ball, which is this Harlem Globetrotter where they do weird stuff, dancing, different rules, like, and it's all under 2 hours. They like time it, so it's like this whole thing you can plan very well. But then it's like such a high demand that they had to just. I don't know if they're actually still fielding a summer ball team. They probably have the money to do so, but
Yeah.
they're doing banana ball all year round, and they have a bunch like there's a bunch of people on it. They have TikTokers who are real big on it. The party animals are the team they play. Like they're big too. Like it's this whole thing. It's really enjoyable. But you're
And like
picking.
you said, their fans are thousands. Like they pack their tiny
Oh, it.
stadium out every game.
Well, they're
Like you said,
traveling.
yeah. Yeah,
They're
even if when they're
traveling now.
traveling.
It's
So
crazy.
like,
They have the great support, which means that town can support another team.
and that is the Savannah Clovers FC out of Nisa. This is a brand new club, 2023. They already made a run to the second round of the Open Cup. So they are primed and ready. They've got a fan base and a city that will support them and will launch them into the stratosphere. Savannah Clovers, welcome aboard.
It's
Where
very
you headed
good.
next, John?
It's kind of really hard. We're getting into NISA and USL League Two teams now. Um,
Lancaster getting subbed off.
let's go. Let's stay going into the South. We're picking this team because of location per se. I'm going with AFC Mobile.
Oh, that's a good one.
Two reasons. That's a dope crest from what I'm seeing on our screen. That is a dope crest, and it's because in the South, and also Mobile has just been in my on my Twitter a lot because I don't know if anyone's seen what happened in Mobile over the weekend,
Oh my.
the boat fight. So I
Yeah.
saw that I was like, one, we honeymooned in Gulf Shores, me and my wife.
Nice.
So like that area is very nice as a whole. But Mobile is a nice little area. It gives you a southern coast team, which we're trying to spread. We're trying our best to spread teams out. So I just feel it's a good little, both location, good logo. I don't know how well their support is. I'm more just picking this honestly off crest location and because Mobile has been trending.
And they're Nisa or who? NPSL?
Uh, Let me look. AFC Mobile. They are
NPSL.
MPSL. Yep.
Hmm. That's a good one. So I kind of pilfered through the NPSL list. And I'm kind of mad at myself that I didn't pick up on them because you're right. That's a great crest. They seem to have a pretty good social media and like their website and stuff seems pretty cool. Just kind of quickly as we're doing this live here. That's a pretty good pick, John. Next for me, um, I'm gonna go way the opposite direction of Mobile. I'm headed back to the northwest. I'm gonna bring in the great state of Minnesota, Duluth FC from the NPSL. Welcome aboard. They have won the NPSL Northern Conference a couple of times. They've made 5 different playoff appearances. They haven't won an NPSL title yet, but they have made the semifinals at least once. They've made it to the second round of the Open Cup. They draw fantastically at right under 1,000 fans per game. And yes, they do play in a soccer specific stadium, but it is not their own. I believe they kind of share it with Duluth, University of Minnesota Duluth. Uh, but it's a beautiful crest, and it is a team that I think you get a little support behind, and they're taking off.
It's a solid pick. It's a region that's on very not well touched. Um, type thing. My next pick is USL, a possible USL championship expansion side that's also fielding a Super League team in Jacksonville. There's no name yet. There's honestly been very little press since their announcement. With the only other press coming out that they're planning to field a Super League team. So it's really weird, but Jacksonville, as we know, has they have a AAA baseball team in the what I consider one of the better ones in the Jumbo Shrimp. I only know that because I have a family member that lives down there, and he's a season ticket holder for them. And the Jaguars are honestly one of the better supported NFL teams.
Which is really weird to say.
It
Like the
is
last
weird,
year,
and
they've been good.
it's weird in terms of support because overall, Jacksonville is the team I've always been hearing is like they're going to be the London team. They're going to be the team that gets like relocated. Um, but it's a city I feel like that can support a team, and they can definitely support a championship side. It's just there hasn't really been that much information about them that has come out.
So I almost picked. So when I did just kind of like behind the scenes here, I ranked everybody and I kind of placed them where I thought they should go, kind of just on initial gut thoughts, right? I put USL Jacksonville in the Premier to start. But the more I thought about it, I kind of pulled them down further and further and further. But I definitely think this is a good pick. This is definitely a franchise
Oh, they
that's going to
got
happen. Oh,
Tebow.
they got Tebow behind him. Oh,
Tebow is a
yeah.
pound.
Yeah, it's happening. Um,
And I think
I
from this
think,
website it said they're planning in 25, 26.
but I think they might get there sooner because the Jacksonville Jaguars, you brought them up. They are looking to have a massive 2-year renovation of their football stadium, and they're going to need somewhere else to play. I had seen some images of them maybe trying to take over the Jacksonville Armada Stadium. Um, and I don't know if that is going to be the USL name for the team in Jacksonville. But they have their own podcast. They have all kinds of media already in place. So I feel very strongly that this team is happening. They're going to have the support. They're going to have a nice stadium that I think the Jaguars are going to help pay for. Like, I think this could be really, really awesome. My next pick. Um, hmm. I feel like we need some more West Coast teams, don't we?
It's your call. It could just be like London and have 8 teams. Well, no, what was
No.
it? Chelsea.
I'm gonna go to a direct competitor to your Central Valley. I'm gonna go Napa Valley 1839 FC. First and foremost, look at that crest. That is a beaut. That green crest there. Look at that. That is beautiful. And I think they will be great rivals in there with Central Valley, and continuing to grow the sport out in California. Not that it needs help growing, um, but I think that would be a great addition to this league.
Alright. Good crest. Overall, it's good. California can support teams, and it is a tie game in Louisville.
How come every time I look down, to like look up something, somebody scores?
And stop
Keep
looking
missing
up.
it.
10 minutes left in that game. I was in the 80th minute. They're in the 81st now. My next pick is going to be another MPSL team. The team that gets a lot of good support. That it is an East Coast team, which we're kind of more Eastern heavy, but it's Annapolis Blues FC. They play at Navy's football stadium.
Yeah,
They get
that's. I
really
was
good.
just
They
looking at
get
that.
really good support. Sometimes it's a little spotty, like all these teams, but overall, they've had some like over 6,000 fans at games. At times, they get some really good support. Uh, obviously they're on the campus of Navy, so I feel that there's a lot you could get a lot of support there because or the the military academy. So there's a lot of support there type thing. It's a military base, so you have people from all different backgrounds are around there. In terms of the Navy, I think we can definitely get that support.
My next pick. Give me the. Let me make sure I give you the name right. Um, give me the Lubbock Matadors SC NPSL side. I think they could really support it. A team in the USL. Now, if you're not familiar with Lubbock, Texas, way out in the middle of nowhere, not a whole lot going on except for Texas Tech University. And Lubbock has had a pretty successful franchise for only a couple of years being around. They have already won the Lone Star Conference, or Lone Star Conference, my apologies. They have made the playoffs in their 1 year of being around. They haven't had a chance to make a run in the Open Cup yet, but they play at the Texas Tech um, soccer complex, and they draw over 2,500 fans per match. So they are very well supported, a great community that loves soccer, and it kind of helps, bridge the gap a little bit between East and West in our exercise here.
Well, a good solid pick, Texas pick. Um, so
And
for
they
my
would be
last,
direct competitors with your RGV.
yes, with my RGV is questionable. I more picked them because I didn't want to just disrespect current USL teams as a whole and just leave them out of the system. So it's my last pick. It's gonna be another little shocker, but I'm doing it as a to be homers because we're kind of the only thing that covers them. Bowling Green FC.
What? Wow. Okay, first off, hold on.
Bring
We
them
have
up.
Lynchburg in there, and we haven't picked Lynchburg. So we're going to have to take Lynchburg out, drop back in the Matadors from Lubbock. They're the ones next to Racing Louisville. Or, I'm sorry, Metro Louisville. You took the Golden Lions. Wow. Nope.
What?
At the
I
top.
got
The other side. Backseat drivers over
the
here.
one with the bull.
No, it's the Bull. That's Birmingham. Yeah, there we go. John, tell me why you picked the Golden Lions.
Well, for two reasons. It's a homer pick because, in all honesty, we're the only real news source for them. So I feel it'd be a little
True.
disrespectful to not boost them up a little bit. And Kentucky is a bid. So now all three-ish Kentucky teams, I'm ignoring the Pumas at this current moment.
Like most people do.
Well, the Pumas, Danville has a team now.
We don't talk about them.
There's a Villa team, a V team, Kentucky, right?
Not that I'm aware of. The only other one that I know of that even is remotely worth talking about would be the Northern Tennessee Nitro. But they also play in the same league as Danville, a league that I do not mention because they play amateur soccer, not semi-professional. And we only talk about semi-professionals here.
Well, there you go. Now, Bowling Green can be fully professional.
There you go.
And it's West Coast, and there you have or Western Kentucky, not West Coast, and you have a direct close rival for Arkansas, close-ish rival for Arkansas.
That completely throws my plan out the window.
Were they going to be your last pick?
No, they were not. They were going to be
And the disrespect. Take that, Golden Lions. The Golden Lions, who
you have
literally
no
the
idea how
only
ironic all of this is.
Consistent journalist you have would not even put you in a 60-team league.
You have no idea the irony of all of this, of the timing of everything. But it doesn't. My next pick doesn't make sense at all because of that pick. But I'm still going to go with him anyways, based on merit of performance alone. Give me Tennessee Tempo, UPSL squad. They have owned the Kentucky-Tennessee Conference since they have joined in 2022. They have made the playoffs all four seasons that they've participated in. They haven't won a national title yet, but they have made it to the national final last spring, and they're a consistent competitor to make it every year. My biggest concern with Tennessee Tempo and with BGFC would be fan support. Both teams these past year and a half have really drawn poorly. where Tennessee Tempo barely feels like they get 50 people. BGFC seemingly getting around 100 or so per game. So that would be my only concern
Well, now
for
they'll
them.
be on ESPN, better coverage, better sponsorships, that
Absolutely.
thing.
So, John, of the kind of teams that are remaining, so we do have those last two categories there. I think let's just kind of take some time to talk through all of those teams. But before I do, I want to kind of hit the final notes here on Tennessee Tempo. Rebranded from Beeman United, they've had a lot of change in organization as far as like sponsorships. Losing a relationship with Beeman. I don't know what happened. Not reporting anything. I just know that all of a sudden the name changed on the UPSL website, and boom, we've got a rebranded side here. They have a lot of talent. They've got Quadre Poku, who NYCFC fans may remember him. He's a great player, also a pretty good coach. Tempo is going to be having a second team in the UPSL Kentucky Tennessee Conference next year for the. They might be playing in this fall, but I definitely know in the spring they'll have a second team. Um, and I wouldn't be surprised if Poku has hung up his boots and plays for them. Again, not reporting, just kind of making an observation based on what happened when they came to Bowling Green and Poku was actually their coach. Now, his brother, Seth Poku, still a very good player. They've got a lot of talent, a lot of experience. And I think you give them the right sponsor right there in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. They're going to take over, drawing support from Nashville, drawing support from those other outlying communities. You've got MTSU right there in town, so they're going to be able to pull um, the what am I trying to say? The college students in, and I just think, in my opinion, I wasn't going to pick BGFC. I wasn't because I think Tempo just have a lot more potential for where they can go based on what I'm seeing from 35,000 feet. They've got some leads as far as getting into the highest ranks of the UPSL because they continue to perform well. They've got a great coach who, if you go back to one of our interviews, we had him on. BGFC, I'm just kind of looking at the fall roster for the Kentucky Tennessee division, and I don't see them on there. So hopefully they, can make it back in there for the fall, but definitely I'm sure they'll be back in the spring. But I'm not sure what's going on with those guys. Um, but yeah, man, just there's a lot of thoughts. Sorry, dude, I kind of rambled a little bit.
No, you're all good. I don't, in all honesty, I don't know that much about both teams. I honestly just picked BGFC to be a bit of a homer for this. Other teams, I think we could see. Um, Flint City has been a strong USL 2 side. Fort Wayne has had USL League One talks have gone on. They actually have a team. Wilmington, North Carolina has had League One talks as well, but
I
they,
just
to
think
my
both of
knowledge,
those
they
places are too small. Like I just
I
do.
Fort Wayne I think is okay. Fort Wayne is decent
You
size
got
wise.
Purdue.
Yeah. They have an actual team too that's decent and has
Hmm.
decent support. Asheville City SC is a strong team that's well supported. They actually had like an event where they had like the first official U.S. women's national team at an event. They're very
Hmm.
well supported, and Asheville is like a staple of Appalachia in terms of like major city of Appalachia. At least Central
Yeah.
Appalachia is a really nice city. Um, there's a bunch in the USL lower leagues. Lions Bridge played Ballard in the finals. There's the Village, Little Rock's got a team.
I
These are all just
almost took
teams
them
that have made
originally over the Northwest Arkansas. I thought
Little
about
Rock
it, but
Rangers.
yeah, but I just thought Northwest Arkansas has more potential than what Little Rock could ever hope to have. I think. Sorry, Little Rock.
there's a lot of teams out there that could make the jumps. The San Francisco Glens have a really good W League side. Like if you look at the W League's team stuff and like team of the year and stuff like that, they had some Glens players on there, and that's a USL 2 side that has a W League side, which that could say that they're trying. That might be a show that they're trying to go more up, and we could see them. And San Francisco technically doesn't. Um, San Francisco technically doesn't have an MLS side. Now Sacramento's really close, and San Jose's there, but everyone that I know talks about how like the 49ers play at like the end of the Bay Area. Like they play
Yeah.
at the bottom in Santa Clara, and that's not really San Francisco. And I assume this team is at least in San Francisco if they're going to call themselves the San Francisco Glens. Let's look exactly where they play.
While
And
you're
they,
looking that up, three teams that I kind of want to hit on that were pretty close to making my list, but just kind of fell short. And they're all in that Atlantic Coast region. Maryland Bobcats FC, Flower City
yeah, so
Union,
Maryland Bobcats
and
is a very good team.
yep, and
There's a
Club
lot.
DeLion FC. Those three teams, though I would change the name of Club DeLion. They're in Daytona. Like, come on, give me Daytona Beach FC or something like that. That would just be so much better.
So the Glens played just outside of San Francisco, a lot closer than they are closer to San Francisco than they are to like San Jose.
Yeah.
They're like just
Two
south of it.
two other teams that I strongly consider they were on my list to come into to League One here. That I think legitimately could make a good argument. First and foremost, the Michigan Stars. They've been around since 2013. They have had some really great teams. They've made runs into the Open Cup. They've won league titles before. I think they are a great pick to be in kind of that close, but not enough yet. The
The
next one is down in
only
Florida,
the
Naples
only
United. Go for it.
Naples is good. The only reason this is recency biased that I would not do the Michigan Stars is because there is a podcast called The Knights Who Say Nisa. It's produced by Protagonist Soccer, who does a really good job at stuff. Something was said. I don't know. I've tried to find the exact podcast episode. I can't yet. Something was said in that podcast to where an owner, either an owner or they made the social media people make a graphic and posted like this note on their Twitter, and I quote tweeted this a few weeks ago. That was like, we've recently learned about all yada yada, something that basically said, "Come at me, bro." And
Yeah, I
to
saw that.
to the only podcast, like the only consistent form of media that covers the team, because Nisa itself sucks at covering its own league.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Terrible.
that covers this league, and instead of like clarifying or denying or like in general clarifying, in my opinion, anytime a club or an owner doesn't like something stated about their team, come out and say it. Like, don't
Yep.
say "come at me, bro." Be like,
Yeah.
this is just wrong. Just call them out. Don't say "come at me, bro." That just doesn't look good and professional to me, and I feel like that's literally they're a joke. Like both the nearby Detroit teams to Detroit City FC like tried to take jabs at Detroit. Yes, look at this. They literally call them out, and
Oh
it
yeah. I was so confused. I was like, why
to
would you
boost
post
your
this?
ratings. And I was like, it's a podcast. No one like the thing that some people don't understand is like podcast. Like that's not how people come to podcasts. I've never even seen this term until that. It's not gonna boost any rating for me to listen to the Nights Who Say Nisa. If you have guts, invite me on the show. So instead of saying clarify, he's like, put me on your show, come at me. I'm gonna rip you guys apart. This gives like WWE like
Yep.
set up to a big fight esque type
which
thing.
I'm all here for. I love that WWE energy, but
And you
it's
can
just
see all
not
these
professional.
comments besides this stupid ad,
Yeah.
where people are just like ripping them.
Before we get too far down the road, final in Louisville, Lou City won, Charleston Battery won as well. So a nice draw there. John, last couple of teams I just wanted to mention here. Several NISA teams that could have made it, but I just don't think they have the fan support to have a legitimate argument. Albion, San Diego, LA Force, Gold Star FC, couple of teams that are on hiatus that I just don't think. I think there are other franchises in those areas that could kind of take their place. California United Strikers FC and New Amsterdam FC. I kind of wanted to mention those briefly, and I got a whole list of other teams that are close that could have made it. Duluth Fusion up in Minnesota, Chicago Nation, supporting Wichita, who just made a great run in the UPSL. They lost to AZ Frenzy or AS Frenzy in the championship game. South Carolina Heat from the UPSL, Lynchburg FC, who has a beautiful logo. Lakeland United, another beautiful logo. Kalanji Pro Profile, who is a team that just constantly puts players in professionally. Lastly, FC Birmingham. I think all of those were close, but no cigars. And then teams that I didn't think really had a shot, not yet at least, Tallahassee Soccer Club, Denton, Texas, Denton Diablos, Iowa Raptors, Homestead FC, Dodge City Toros, and then DeKalb County United. So that kind of sums up all of the other teams that I was considering for this. But if you enjoyed watching this and you enjoyed kind of seeing where we place people, we will with a link so that you can go in there yourself and actually show us where you would place teams. Who would you put in Premier? Who would you put in Champion? Who would you put in League One? Um, but John, kind of, I'll throw it to you. Kind of last thoughts on this format and where you would put anybody or anything like that.
If we had to like redo, I would drop Chattanooga
Yeah,
FC
you would.
out of it all probably. I would probably bring up, I would say, the Maryland Bobcats, and that I'm only picking them because they have produced two guys on Lexington with Nico Brown and Khalid Balogun. They have some other guys in there in the USL League One. Metro
No,
Louisville is
Metro
a
Louisville.
JV,
No, get out. Get in
but
that bottom category.
I would love Metro Louisville, but we don't know if they even exist anymore. Their
I
ultras
have
have
no comments on
disbanded.
Metro Louisville.
Their ultras have disbanded. But you know,
You could probably drop
over,
DeKalb down too. That's a pretty small market outside of Chicago.
overall, I think it's good. Our league is good in general. It's growing. I don't think we missed any USL Championship expansions. The only League One possible expansions we missed was Fort Wayne and Wellington.
Yeah, I just
Um, I think it's weird at this point. There needs to, in general, I feel there needs to be more mid America teams, but
and that's
they
what
need
I'm
to
trying
show
to
up.
do. I'm
There's like
trying
that.
to pull those.
There's the Des Moines Menace are also a good USL 2 side. I just
Which
like
is going to be a
don't.
great base for that USL champion Des Moines team.
I'm curious if they're like partners or not, or if they're going to be separate entities,
I
because
hope they'll be together.
there are sides that have a USL 2 seat, like North Carolina. Like is they're going up. North Carolina FC is has like 16,000 kids in their academy. They have a U23 side. Uh, the women's side is obviously the North Carolina Courage side, but they have all these sides in their thing. So I'm curious if League Two would end up not being put in the pyramid, but being put in the pyramid in the sense of the U23 teams, because like Juventus B plays in Serie C and all these type of things. They have all these B teams that exist in Europe, in all the sense that play in lower teams. They're not allowed to be promoted or that type of thing. They have to stay so many leagues away from their parent club. But I'm curious if that's just what League Two might become. It could become this thing where academy teams exist, and teams are like, why don't we get a little established first before we try to make this jump into the fully professional sphere? Let's get our
Kind of
bearings.
like what One Knox did.
One Knox did this. Other teams have done this. Our producer just asked a good question. I personally don't see a fourth league going right now, just solely because there is in the USL there's 3 and there's MLS still. If
And
MLS
I
and
think the whole
USL were
conversation of
partner,
Pro Rel was 1, 2, 3.
yes, because MLS takes up 30 markets. Some markets are overlap like San Diego, but they take up 30 markets. The 30 biggest markets, besides like Detroit, is one that's not in there, or Milwaukee, but they still take up 30 of the biggest markets in America, or 28, because there's 2 teams in some cities. And that's hard to vibe with. And so if they were to partner and MLS is the top, then I could see us going to 4. But if it's just the USL trying to branch off, competing against the MLS, don't get too big for your britches, where it's too hard to control.
And you don't want to create a super competitive environment where you're dividing your market too far. You could have maybe a USL League One team in the same city as an MLS team. Just different community kind of approach to that, but you wouldn't want it to be too much of a direct competitor to keep a solid USL side in there. But so we will, of course, drop this into to Twitter, and we'll give you all a link so we can see your designs. And we want to see, where would you put teams? Would you put, DeKalb County all the way in the champion? Would you put the New York Cosmos all the way out? Just really depends on how you want it to look. So, but John, with that, we'll kind of start wrapping up today's show. I always want to thank everybody for watching, especially since we were directly on at the same time as the Lou City game. But make sure that you're always following us on all our social media: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, at BG Soccercast on all of those platforms. Make sure you give us a listen on all of your favorites podcasting platforms such as Spotify, Google, YouTube, and so many others. And while you're on those, make sure you're subscribing or following our show. You're liking our episodes. Engage with us. Let us know what you like. And then lastly, we have a Discord. So if you want to be a part of the Discord server, we'll make sure to post that on Twitter again so that you can easily click the link and join our Discord. It's been a great place to have really good soccer conversations over the last couple weeks since we've had that going. But, so make sure that you following us on social media. You're engaging with us on our videos and our podcasting platforms, and then get into our Discord so that we can continue to talk with you all further. But this is Jimmy, that's John, and we will see you on the next one.